It's like you're doing the same thing. It's the same thing. You keep doing the same thing, and you keep getting the results. It's what you're doing. It's what you're putting into it. And there's something that is not understood. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Glen Gilbert. I'm your host of the Glen Gilbert Connection. This is where we have discussions about relationship wisdom for today's man. Joining me again is Jordan Thayer. For those of you who missed the other episode, he is a first vice president and financial advisor at a global wealth management firm. Previously, Jordan was a major in the Marine Corps and commanded 225 Marines as a company commander and executed a 2013 combat deployment to Afghanistan. Thank you for joining me, Jordan.
It's good to be back.
Yeah. Awesome.
I enjoyed our last chat very much.
Yeah, me too. It was fantastic. Yeah. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about basically why it's a bad idea to make attempts or to try and get your ex-girl back. I think it's kind of important to kind of cover that ground. I know probably a lot of guys, if not almost all guys, are at some point in their lives just trying to get that woman that took off, just wanting to try and get her back.
The one that got away.
The one that got away. And just kind of being, I think we all got a little short-sighted and we're just like, oh my gosh, she was the one and now she's gone and what can I do?
Totally. I think we had some good back and forth before we started rolling, and I got it led to almost a comparison that I made in my notes. I think in any normal breakup, you're dealing with the grieving process, right? Where you're one day all hot under the collar and forget her, I don't need her, my life's better without her. And then you have a wave of sadness that comes in where you go, oh man, I just blew it with the one. There's no one else that'll compare to her. I've ruined my whole life. It's that very standard grief process. So I boiled it down to, there's short-term coping. I want her back versus capitulation. I want her back. Like that short-term coping, I think, is manageable, right? Through a number of strategies, including a strategic vision, which I know we've talked about. But you compare that with capitulation, where you are, in many ways, giving up on yourself. You have nothing that you're tied to or moored to, your own sovereignty as a man, I think is a good way to phrase that. And I think you're throwing a Hail Mary pass. I think you're mistakenly thinking that your value and any redeeming quality about you is tied to being in a relationship with this person, which that's not true. That's not true at all.
Right. So
that was just kind of a comparison I was sitting here mulling over.
Yeah. There's several thoughts I have on that. And I'm aligned with you on where you're going. And I wanted to play this video really quick. It's Andrew Huberman and I believe it's Chris Williams, and they're having this discussion on why it's a mistake to break up. And they touch a little bit on just, the emotional roller coaster, I think, as you were mentioning before, what that might feel like and what you need to do about it when you start it.
In breakups, what's happened is the person is no longer available in time and space, but it's almost as if the brain has to think that the person is gone in time and space. And this has become much harder with social media. Now we are constantly renewing that the person is still there. And so love and the loss of love and the death grief are virtually identical. It's that motivational state. And this is why it's so hard to not reach out to somebody that you really miss and want back. How comfortable one is feeling their feelings, is male or female, is going to strongly dictate how quickly one moves through grief. This is the same thing as trauma. The more willing someone is to feel the full depth and intensity of the feelings that they associate with that trauma, the more quickly they're going to move through the trauma. People use a number of strategies. They use distraction. They use states like, they sublimate to things like anger, and avoidance of various kinds in order to not feel the traumatic feelings or not feel the breakup. People will, try and self-soothe with alcohol or try and self-soothe with multiple new partners or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't work because this map of space, time, and closeness needs to be fractured. And the only way to do that is for the brain to have to confront the reality, which is that whether by death or by breakup, they are no longer available. It's like the food on the other side of that wall is gone. It's just not there anymore.
I could not have said it better myself when he says, the more you feel, more or less, the more you feel the full depth of your painful emotion, the quickly you're going to process through it.
And you know, as we all know, guys are really good with expressing their emotions and letting it all out, right? They're just so good at just being like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
I feel this way.
I feel this way. That is like the ultimate of this guy is so vulnerable right now because he's so upset. It's like, well, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
I personally have experienced, I've witnessed, and I think it's very common that, you know, in this age of easy distraction, to distract your way and avoid the actual processing of the pain that you rightly feel.
Sure.
And there is zero doubt in my mind that when you intentionally delay that process or try to circumvent it altogether, that will manifest in other ways. Certainly in your mental health and oftentimes in your physical health.
I heard a great quote from, I think it was Michael Sartain. I heard this from, ex-military as well. He said, if you're avoiding confrontation, you're creating chaos. I think that's what it was.
Absolutely.
And this is like one of those examples of she's gone, you know, and just trying to bury it and just trying to ignore it, just trying to not recognize it rather than just sitting in it. You know, just like, I think it's Eckhart Tolle had the book, The Power of Now. Yep. And just sitting in it and just being like, yep, this sucks. And just being like, yep, I'm going to deal with this right now. And I'm just going to sit in it and be like, yep, this is just horrible. It's terrible. It's just, and you let it all go.
Well, and it, you know, and I think that goes counter to what a lot of men feel, which is they can't be vulnerable or they don't want to be, which is understandable. I get it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to. You're just told not to. All of society's, you know, the pressures of society.
And I think there's a reason for that, and I think that it's important. But I also think that there are constructive ways that men can vent through a lot of those very wretched and painful emotions, while maintaining face and certainly, you know, keeping your dignity. I mean, the best example I have, I talked about it slightly on the last podcast episode. I enjoy training jiu-jitsu so much. Well, the academy I was training at, it closed abruptly. It's very unfortunate. There's a story there. But I literally, it was so jarring to all the people there. We organized this informal meetup at an Applebee's to kind of say, hey, where are you going? Are you trying that academy or this academy? But more importantly, it was to commiserate. And we even, all of us were like, are you feeling like sad about this? And one guy's like, dude, I couldn't get out of bed for a couple days after this. Because that, I mean, you forge camaraderie through suffering. That
level of
and connection. So when you have that level of it, as you know, you build some pretty tight bonds. And so it really rattled a lot of our cages. And I'll never forget it. Before this meetup where we all got together, it was a day or two where I had exchanged a couple emails with my former professor, who I just still to this day respect so very highly. I got this wave of sadness where I don't know if you've seen the old Dane Cook skit, the stand-up comedian, where he's like, hey, you're going to cry. Like it's just the world tapping him on the shoulder being like, hey, this is going to happen. And the realization dawned on me and I'm like, oh man. So I went to my wife. I'm like, I just, you know, I worked out this morning and I feel like the first workout shower didn't take. So I'm just going to go take a shower. I'll be back. She's like, all right, whatever. And I go in there and I just kind of, you know, it's so easy to brush the emotion aside. And I just sat there and I thought about it, focused on it, and I did. And I just let it out. But
you didn't tell her that you were going to do that.
No, because as like I said, there's a tasteful way to go about it. I don't think, I think it's my personal belief based off my experience
Right.
and it's different for everybody.
I got you.
I think that there are a few key moments in life where your partner can see you cry and it's fine.
Right.
Your woman can see you cry and it's fine.
Right.
You want to keep those to a minimum.
Even the ex that is left, you don't want to call her up crying and begging. That's like a guy ick. That just made every guy in Seattle.
Just turned. Yeah,
every guy in Seattle just went.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, maybe not every guy, but
well, I think a natural reaction. I think the reason for that sort of very natural, visceral reaction, where I think anyone who is either sitting there watching something like that or hears a story about it, I think anyone will naturally recoil because at that particular moment, you can tell that this guy doesn't really have a whole lot that's keeping him grounded. Right?
Sure.
There's no strategic vision that he's working towards constructively. He's not, this.
Right.
I think he has staked too much in that failed relationship.
100%. If he's trying to work on this is what I'm going to do to try and get her back, to restabilize everything I just lost, like that's the thinking. Like, oh, if I can get her back, then everything will go back to normal, and I'll just adjust whatever she needs and blah blah blah. Right? I'll do what she wants me to do.
I'm proud to say I don't think I know anyone like that.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't know what to say.
Talk about it, even more of a loss of respect from her to the guy, to me, you, whatever. If you're like, oh, just do whatever, you just like, that is like a recipe for just disaster.
Yeah, I don't think anyone on earth would want to be with someone like that.
No. Yeah, just
maybe in theory, but not.
Yeah, no. But I think like what Andrew Huberman was saying and what you were saying as well is just the best thing to do is just sit in it.
Easier said than done.
100%. This is by no means something easy for guys, for anyone to do really, but for guys to be like, let me just sit in this horrible state of mind for a little while and just be there rather than let me go outside and I'm going to go, mountain biking, or I'm going to go lift, or I'm going to go do jiu-jitsu and just get all my frustrations. But I think it's a great great to sit there and just be in it for that while. You have to mourn that loss.
Yeah, I think all those outdoor physical and up out of your house activities are great.
Yeah,
I think they should be used to help mitigate the grief, but eventually the time comes where you're not going to be engaged in something, and you do have to confront it. It's interesting. This weekend, I have an appointment to meet up with a friend at a park, and we're going to walk. I love this friend very dearly. They have been putting the hard work off for years of dealing with emotions, past trauma, all of the things that are being are a part of the human experience.
Okay.
And I have to tell them what they've been self-medicating with booze and weed for decades at this point. And what brought me to this culminating point is they had expressed some suicidal ideation. And my response to them was that I have unfortunately known too many people in my life who have ended their own lives. I'd appreciate it if you were not one of them. And I said, are you available for a walk? I said, well, it's an odd request these days, but a lot of my Stoic reading, Marcus Aurelius was real big on taking walks.
Sure.
So I said, hey, let's go for a walk by your house. Here's a park. It's 5 minutes away. It's not far.
Best way to get it out.
Yeah. And I'd rather, frankly, do that than sit at a restaurant or something like that anyway.
100%.
So what I've been taking notes all week of just carefully selecting my words. And the bottom line is as I'm going to say, look, I don't know every detail of your past story. I'm sure you've endured difficulties just like I have, just like every other human being has. But I am going to tell you a lot of things you're not going to want to hear. And of course, I will listen. But one of the points that I'm prepared to deliver is it's time for you to do the hard work now. You've delayed it for so long.
Good friends deliver the hard news. Bad friends don't deliver any news.
Yeah, and that's not to bring the mood down, but it's along the theme of not dealing with something is just going to cause chaos, and that this person has just compounded it, and I'm like,
not confronting it is definitely going to create
you
chaos.
just got to do it.
Oh yeah,
so
all of those things are what buffers, things to just be like to just numb it up. But I was thinking about the things to cope and the things to numb you up and things to avoid the actual situation. Drugs, alcohol, all that kind of stuff is one way to do it, sure, but it's not going to make it go away that much faster. It's basically you're avoiding the inevitable.
Well, you're making it worse.
Definitely making it worse because it's just going to lay there and it's just not going to go away.
I disagree. I don't think it's just going to lay there. I think it's going to compound inside you. It's going to make your present more miserable in various, either mental or physical manifestations. And eventually when you do deal with it, it's going to be just as hard, maybe harder, depending upon how long you've delayed it.
That's a really good point. Like, the longer you avoid it, the longer you suppress it, the longer the easier it is to be like, oh, it's not a problem while it's just festering.
Oh, yeah.
And when you finally realize it, it'll just explode.
Totally.
There was another thing I was going to bring up about, issues as to why getting the other, the ex, leaving and trying to get her back is kind of detrimental, because if you're like, oh my gosh, you just want her back, and then you start, if you guys are connected on social media and you start seeing her do fun things without you, gotta love social media.
No, you don't.
Gotta love it.
No,
but those are things to be aware of. It's like, oh my gosh, well, she's having fun without me.
Yeah.
But I want, and that it's like just taking that knife and going, oh my gosh, this is what she really wanted, and
I can recall just previous breakups when I was indeed in the era of social media. What's the first thing you do? You defriend them, you block them. Like, they're not Andrew Huberman's video. They are not there anymore.
Right.
And it's hard to do that in the era of social media. And I think some personalities are more tempted to, like, oh, maybe I'll just take a quick look or whatever. What possible good is that going to give you?
That's the thing. It's like, what possible good? And it's like, there's an addiction.
Yeah. Oh,
what is she doing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's like, how addicted are you?
Yeah. So
and then it's like, okay, you really need to, I think, journaling, like we've talked about, getting it out, letting your friends, and not just anybody, letting the close friends know that this is what you're struggling with.
For sure.
You're not just going to throw it out there to like, hey, Frank, I know we just kind of talk at work every once in a while, but, and then.
Well, and I think you see guys do that who are desperate for close friendship and maybe don't have it. And for various reasons, either they recluse themselves and, are just playing video games all day. There's various reasons, but I think, because I've found myself in that situation a time or two before, and on the receiving end of it, and I go, and I got to wondering what it is that drives that, and I honestly just arrived at, this person probably doesn't have that many friends for whatever reason, right? And they're just desperate to feel seen and feel, that level of comfort where they can share an intimate detail with someone and have it validated in return, and so if you have friends that you feel comfortable doing that with, you should count yourself very lucky.
I think that kind of goes to the whole, like, my whole social network is her friends. Everybody I know, she's the one that has introduced me. They're friends with her, and I'm just kind of like the tag along. So once she's gone, all of that is gone. So maybe that's another drive to try and, if I get this relationship back and I can make up, I get all my friends back, we get we can hang out again and blah, blah, blah.
And I'd almost say, the what ifs I assume are as infinite as the number of stars in the sky. But at the same time, I think that ties back to, but if he had a strategic vision of sorts, I'm not going to say it's no big deal, but at least you have something you can now redouble your efforts and focus on constructively. And I mean, how do I envision my life in a year? Like maybe I've dropped 10 pounds, or maybe I've started that hobby I've always wanted to try. It much less how I want my life to look 5-10 years from now, and building that kind of long range plan. I mean, people are going to be attracted to that. I mean, but at the end of the day, you got to do the hard work too, of actually executing that, those action steps. But I think I think people are attracted to people that have a purpose. So absolutely.
And we'll get into that in a little bit. There's some other stuff I wanted to talk about first, as far as, more reasons why you shouldn't try and get her back. There's a video by Orion Taraban.
Now, the second reason is that women often have potential mates on the periphery of their lives. These could be coworkers or yoga buddies or friends of friends. They are men in her ambit where there is some acknowledged attraction that hasn't yet been acted upon. It's actually fairly common for women to have plan Bs, if not plan Cs, Ds, Es, Fs, and Gs, while she's still in her primary relationship. And women are generally allowed to do this socially because the standards for infidelity really revolve around overt sexuality. So as long as it's look but don't touch, as long as she acknowledges that she's in a relationship currently, a woman can keep options warm that can potentially be acted upon in the future. This allows her to strike up a new relationship quickly, as there are men waiting in her proverbial wings. On the other hand, most men do not enjoy optionality with women. This means that they often don't have a backup plan, even if they wanted one. That's the second reason. And the third reason why it's easier for women to get into a new relationship than it is for men is that men's standards for entering into a relationship are, across the board, significantly lower than women's standards for the same. Most men, I hate to say it, but it's true, most men will have whoever will have them. And if she's cute and willing to have sex with him and doesn't cause too many problems, men are generally willing to entertain the possibility of a relationship. On the other hand, women have and are encouraged to have much higher standards for their potential mates and dates. So even if a man wanted to get into a new relationship right away, he would run up against the unforgiving gatekeeping of women's standards. So that's reason number 3. So women win the game of serial monogamy. Who cares? Why is this important?
Yeah, obviously the video goes on more in depth. He was bringing up like 3 points, but I thought that was just some of the more important things, as far as, women are going to leave you because they already have something in mind. They already have somebody else there. Who or how, or how they planned it, or what they did, or why they did it. That's another reason. But usually, from what Orion is saying, and I would agree with him, I really like Orion Taraban, it makes sense that women are going to have a backup plan. And I think usually, from what I understand, from everything I've been reading and everything I've been listening to, and just some personal experience of things, it's usually they're going to have something planned up and ready to go, because it's something that you're not providing. I'm not providing. There's something missing, and she sees somebody else that has that.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I've certainly experienced it myself, and when I was in college, particularly. I don't know. I guess I would only disagree slightly that I don't know. I doubt that every woman enters a relationship saying, and here's my number 2 and 3 and 4 in case this doesn't pan out. I think I could see that, particularly if a relationship starts off, very well, you're both very invested. But I think a good example that I've seen firsthand is someone spends a little too much time partying on the weekend, or gets a little bit too irresponsible, and maybe starts to exhibit behavior that is not something that, it just, there's a conflict of values, I think. And then at that point, I could see a lady's peripheral vision widening a bit more. I don't know. I feel like a lot of them would, because there's the concept of sunk cost, right? She has already invested so much time in this relationship, and time and effort. So you don't want to cut ties right away, but you also want to hedge your bets too. I definitely get that to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think what Orion was getting at here is it's not something they've, okay, I've just met this guy and this is great. Where's my plan B?
Right.
I think that's just over maybe some time once the oxytocin goes away.
Right.
Like, he's exhibiting traits, things that I don't know if I really like, type of thing.
Right.
Like where she's going with just like, okay, he's doing this and this and this. It's really not something I'm attracted to anymore. And it's really, where she starts thinking, this is not going to work.
It's the whole concept of optionality being, permitted more so with women than with men was a relatively new novel and new concept introduced, at least to me. Maybe I'm a bit, head in the sand, but it inspired this reflection I had the other day in regards to infidelity. When it's and this is not an original thought. I heard this from somewhere. I can't remember who it was, but in the event of an infidelity, typically the man's first question is always, "Did you sleep with him?" And then the woman's first question is, "Do you love her?" And I find it so fascinating, the juxtaposition and the differences, in that scenario.
It's like, what is important to you?
Yeah, it is.
So those are some of the things that's I think pretty straightforward on where men are thinking and what women are thinking about. And I think guys are always like, did you sleep with him? Where did you sleep with him?
Right.
That'll really go. And then it's like, if do you love her and how long have you been together? It's just like, are you forming a new relationship? All that kind of stuff.
Right.
There was some other like attraction triggers or strategies that I came across that women might employ, but I think to start noticing the subtle changes may be an indicator of like something is she's losing attraction. Like maybe she starts doing different things, has a new social network, starts going to the gym more frequently, more book clubs, or just something to where she's not around you anymore and she's introducing new people into her world or into her circle or something like that, or where she's finding new opportunities to meet other people, I think would be a definite sign.
I've always used the concept of baseline, right? When I'm around someone, there's a typical, pattern of behaviors that exists when they're, living the life. And if something changes by a large enough degree, if that behavior modification is significant enough, then I know something's different.
Yeah.
And I may not know what it is, but there's something that's definitely different here. I think most people pick up on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can still recall one of the more elementary training packages we had to go to before we went to Afghanistan was learning the concept of baseline, where we would have role players in a stage Afghan market of guys carrying bags over their shoulder and donkeys and carts and all this stuff, and you would be tasked to what's different about this baseline today. And it started out as very stark, as like there's whereas one instance there was 25 people there, and the next instant there was one. You go, why is nobody here? Like, what's going on?
This is not baseline anymore. This is a change.
Right. But then they would make it more nuanced as, oh, that guy's not standing. Or that same guy was there, but he's not there anymore. He's over there. Why is he over there? What's going on?
Makes you think a little more. Yeah. When I think of baseline, I think of from all of the clinical trials I study. So it's just that starting point.
Right.
This is like, this is where we're starting. This is what's going on. This is what I understand from the very beginning. This is And for relationships, it's like, this is where the oxytocin is really kicking in.
Right.
Things are feeling really good. And here's baseline. And then as everything kind of drops off, how does that change from baseline? Kind of like what you were saying. It's like, what are the changes going forward that are noticeable? And then I think if someone's going to leave you, some things to notice are, what's that social circle look like? Where is she going? What's going on, with this, like I said before, this book club that you keep going to 3 times a week now. What's, why are you going on all these hikes with all of these friends all of a sudden? Just something a little deviating from the norm that you're used to where something's a little off. Like some strategies, like I mentioned a little earlier, that, and I don't think this is more for guys, but I think for women, it's going to be some sexual strategies that women might employ are like mate switching, which is just basically you're dissolving the one relationship so you can have the other relationship go. So you're just going to like basically sabotage it because you got something else going on already, and you can just start forming that one.
Time to cut ties.
Yep. Mate poaching. That's a favorite. Where you're just she doesn't like some, for example, or you like the woman is attracted to some guy at work, and then she starts talking bad about his wife, and but I wouldn't treat you that way. Oh, really?
Lord.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a whole, and then it's just like mate choice copying, I think, where it's like, okay, that guy looks good because there's so many other women that are just around him and accepting him. That's great. Okay, I don't have to do any hard work. Everything's already done. Or even, maybe a friend of a friend knows a guy, good guy. Great. Like everything, all the background check is done. I can just go right into that and just kind of dissolve this other one. I guess it's similar to mate switching, but I mean, it's just those subtle things, and knowing that if she's starting to do this, there's something missing. I think there's something that the guy is not providing to make her go, you know what, this isn't that great, and I'm going to start looking elsewhere. Yeah. So I think that's that discussion where the guy's got to go to himself and go, what am I not doing that is not making me attractive? Or maybe it's, maybe she does tell you like, hey, I just don't like that you are out of shape, or I just don't like that you're not motivated for something else in your life, or, you don't have anybody, you don't have a social network. We don't do anything. We don't go out with anybody.
Yeah. I think I think depending upon how much one values the relationship, I think you have to then take stock of what are your recreational activities, what are your priorities, and does she have a point? I think a lot of times she legitimately does have a point.
Yeah.
Maybe not so in other circumstances, but again, the concept of sunk costs. I think we've all been in relationships that have gone on for years, and to have them end is certainly painful, but also, God, you more or less wasted that time. Of course you didn't waste it. You learned a lot about yourself and what you like, what you don't like, but now you're back to square one, and you have to, start all over again with someone new. And I don't think everybody necessarily wants to do that. Well,
I think you alluded to this when we first started talking, is you need to take that time, probably not just to sit into it, to journal about it, and to figure out, is there something you could have done differently before? To be like, what, I probably could have improved myself in this area. I was letting myself go. I wasn't doing anything, and I wasn't appreciating her, or I wasn't saying anything, or I wasn't doing anything. We weren't going out. It was like, okay, we're together, or, oh, I got the ring on her finger. We don't need to do anything else. I don't need to get a, promotion or work on another, some other project or something I want to pursue, or just something.
Right. Well, I made the note earlier. Again, if a man has done some of the hard mental work and really at least sculpted an incomplete vision of what he wants to aim at, because if you're not going to aim at anything, you're lost in the sauce. You're rudderless, right? So if you can come up with an 80% solution of, hey, I'm pretty sure I want my wife to look like this, or I want my life, to look like this, and actively take the steps to put that into place, because that's the hard work. Right. The right women are going to be attracted to that.
Right.
You're gonna eliminate so much of the riffraff,
Right.
just by being focused.
Yes.
And that, I think, empowers you furthermore that, hey, if you're on board with my vision, cool. And especially if you're attracting the right sorts, if you're lucky, the way I feel I certainly am, if you couple with one of the right women, she will immeasurably compound your progress.
Yes.
and
100%.
compound your results.
100%.
If you guys are on the same page,
Yeah.
and you've discussed this, hey, this is what I'm here. This is personal. You don't bring it out on the first date.
Good call.
But if things are going decently, it's like, hey, this is kind of what I'm about, and I think it's important you know that, because I like you, and I think we could really have something here.
Yeah.
And I would cover some of the forbidden topics at that point: politics, religion, and kids. All the you start sorting through some of the tougher stuff, and who knows, maybe you've sorted it out already by that.
But that's a really good point. It's just figure out what you want to do. Figure that out before you start pursuing another relationship, because history is going to repeat itself.
Oh, ain't it the truth?
Right. I mean, it's like, if you don't figure out what might be causing the change from your baseline to the outcome at the very end, and you keep going through that situation. It's like the joke about the guy who has, like, I've got 5 ex-wives and I don't know what's wrong with these women. Well, it's you. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you're doing the same thing. It's the same thing. You keep doing the same thing, and you keep getting the results. It's what you're doing. It's what you're putting into it. And there's something that is not understood, whether it's within you or how you're treating women, or how you're not understanding how women want to be treated. There's things going on there where it's like, this is just.
Well, it's why I've built out the financial advisory practice that I have. One of the first steps I take with a potential new client is, what are we working towards? When do you want to retire? When do you think you might want to? What are you going to do? Have you thought about that? So many people haven't.
Really?
But, once we start to have the conversation and craft an 80% solution of what that end state looks like, okay, now we've got something we can work with, and we can back plan from that. No plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So that's the whole reason I have a job, is I'm constantly revisiting and discussing and revising and updating portfolios and all that. But the whole point of this diatribe is doing the hard mental work, right? Like, what do I really want? What do I think I want? You don't have to know 100% for sure, but use your God-given common sense to sculpt at least the beginnings of a target that you can then take calculated aim at and sort of break down measurable steps to achieve. And again, you actually do have to do the hard work to get there. And I think that, that creates a sort of magnetism.
100%. I mean, you really do have to go through the hard work. You got to go through the dark valley before you can start going back up the hill.
Oh boy!
Right? There is a book. So this was like a couple years ago, and I really wanted to do something. It was a few years out of a divorce. I knew something was going on. I knew I wasn't alone with how I felt, but I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. And I got a recommendation for this book called "Start with Why" by Simon Sinek.
Yeah. Oh, good
right?
one. Absolutely good one.
And it's like you go through there, and it's just like you got to find your why. So for guys that are like, wow, I keep dating these women and they keep taking off, and it hurts so bad. What is going on? And if you're not willing to look at what's going on, find a purpose. Just at least start working on a purpose. Yeah. And then, if you can find that time to sit in that, the power of now, just sit in that emotion for a little bit to kind of get to that. What is the situation that is hurting me the most, and what might be preventing me? So you're trying to figure out what you could do better. You could start figuring out, what can I do for others? Like, what is my why? How are you bringing value? I mean, what do they say? A guy's biggest asset is how he might bring value to somebody else to fix a problem.
Yeah, I've not heard it put that way, but I don't disagree.
If the way I understand it, if you are able to learn a skill that is missing in somebody else's business or whatnot, invaluable. And that's something where you can be like, wow, I helped. You can put on a resume or do whatever. Like, I helped so-and-so do this. I helped so-and-so do that. I helped so-and-so. And that starts building. You get your social circle is going to start improving because people are going to see how well you do things. If you're doing something with integrity and, doing the hard work, that word of mouth is going to, spread to those people that might want some, hey, I need some help here and here. Do you know anybody? Yeah, I know this guy did really good work for me, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, the power of now to figure out what's going on. The Start with Why by Simon Sinek. And then, if there's something like, I just don't get women. I just don't understand what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing wrong or anything. It's time to look at, understanding yourself, but understanding women. And there's a really good book. It's The Evolution of Desire by David Buss. He's an Evo Psych. And it just talks about the dynamics and how basically through evolution, men and women have been attracted to each other, how they became attracted.
If you like that Evolution of Desire, I'm writing down. There's another interesting book that I think just you personally would be into. It's called Sperm Wars. And I know it sounds a little gratuitous, but it's an evolutionary psychology type book, and it just goes into some of our programming. That's some of our baser instincts, and it's just it was a fascinating read. I
think guys get into this mindset of like, oh my gosh, she looked at me, so she must be in love with me, and let me do this and this, and she'll be fine, or that whole thing like he's mansplaining or whatnot. I think it's, and I'm kind of guilty of this too. It's just like I'm not understanding what she needs, and so it's like, let me take a moment to figure like, what is really happening here? Why am I, why are we not connecting?
I was going to go back to your point because I believe it deserves emphasis when you say you need to just sit with the emotion and it sucks. I am admittedly an incredibly emotional guy. I ride the emotional roller coaster harder than the average bear. I'm very aware of it. I have no shame on it. My wife, on the other hand, is like steady Eddie, cool as a cucumber. God love her. And we speak openly about it, and it's kind of comical, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's funny.
I have to, for whatever reason, when it comes to work and like the emotional swings of the stock market, I'm able to steel myself so much better because I have data to turn to, which makes it far easier to mitigate. But for personal relationships, you don't have data. So for me personally, I ride the emotional roller coaster really hard, and I want to give a credence to. I want to admit out loud for some of your listeners who may have been putting off the hard work. They've, just a breakup for the ages, or maybe there's some trauma sprinkled in there. We're all human beings. We've dealt with it to varying degrees. And if there's one thing that's for sure, it's life's not fair. I'm sure you have a listener or two that has experienced it far worse than you and I combined. But in my opinion, one of the measures of a man that I've learned to calibrate through my life experience is what is his willingness to endure hardship, and how can he be relied upon when things are getting difficult, whether physically or mentally.
Sure.
And for me personally, there have been multiple times in my life where, I was just a bumbling mess because of emotional hardship that I don't think I was mature enough to state that I was sitting through my emotion and processing it. Not at all. I think I was just an emotional young man, even more so, and was experiencing a lot of painful firsts.
Sure.
And was just dealing with it. And fortunately, I had terrific role models growing up. I never consoled myself with alcohol or drugs or other chemicals. Like I didn't turn to that as a reactionary thing to console me. I always tried to stay somewhat social and just allow myself to blubber away when I needed to.
Did you talk to your role models about
all
where
the
you
time.
just kind of just like, I'm having this problem. Oh my God. And you just like let it go. And they're
Yeah, oh yeah.
like, okay, dokie.
Well, no.
Okay, dokie. Keep going. Keep going, Jordan.
Not quite to that, pathetic degree. Although once or twice, surely, I was very lucky that my dad and I were very close. And I could call him and say, "Hey, I'm just dealing with it." And he, in his infinite wisdom, he would always just tell me, he goes, "Son, time heals all wounds." It's like, that'll be fine.
That was his comeback. Huh?
Yeah.
He'd listen to you and then be like, time's gonna heal all wounds. Anything else?
Yeah. All right, cool. Great.
Thanks. Have a good day.
That was a really helpful 30
but
second.
you told me that last time, Dad.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, and I'm right again.
I totally was. But, and of course I had really good friends who would listen with it, sometimes a more sympathetic ear, although my dad did the same very much.
Right.
So I think it's a matter of you certainly want to take the time and effort to cultivate your social network too, and I mean, not that it needs a whole lot of explanation, but the importance of friends, to help pick you up when you're down, I think can certainly make the grieving and breakup process a whole lot easier, to the point where you don't even reach that stage of capitulation where you're like, oh my God, I have nothing to live for. I have to have this woman back or else it just doesn't.
It's how can you even explain how important it is to have somebody else to talk to like that you can trust?
Oh my God.
I mean, you can't. It's like invaluable.
Totally.
It's invaluable. But that's another must. It's like if you're going through something like this, it's really good to have somebody you trust, somebody who's close to you, and probably another guy, just so he understands, the same kind of thing. I mean, there could be like besties where it's a woman. Sure. Like where there's going to be no romantic involvement ever.
Good luck with that.
Let me tell you about how my cat died, and you could, yeah. But it's a woman leaving. Yeah.
I was going to say that in the event that you are just completely bereft of male counterparts to confide in and to empathize, right? Because I think a lot of guys have dealt with similar circumstances in one form or another. Yep. For the love of God, like get a therapist, like someone who is professionally trained to prompt you to talk more about that and explore that a little bit more. I don't think that's a clinical term, but tell me more about that, because if they can get you to process through that a lot more, that is the equivalent of sitting with it and being present in that sadness and that sorrow and that grief.
Yes.
The more you're talking about it, I mean, I personally see a therapist to this day. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I hope it's not TMI, but I myself had something I was dealing with during our last session, and I don't cry that often, in the presence of other men, much less my therapist, believe it or not. But it really got to me, and he goes, "Oh, tell me more about that." And I go, "Yeah, wow, good point." And it's a bit, it's a bit awkward at first, but I kind of reminded myself, I'm like, this is some of that hard work. Like, let's just get it over with.
I would agree with that 100%, because maybe a therapist is going to be, supposed to be a neutral party, not going to tell you just like blow smoke up, exactly. And maybe a friend would be great to vent, but would they really have the clinical savvy to be, let's get to the heart of the matter. So 100%, agree with you 100%. And I've done the same thing, and have to, talk to somebody professional as far as, these are the things I'm struggling with.
Totally.
These are the things I'm having trouble overcoming. And I don't have a game plan. To admit, like, I don't have a game plan. I'm struggling. How do I get out of this? This is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's serious value to each, right? The clinical side, there's, professional training and you strike up a good rapport and it's constructive and it's good. I think having, someone who you consider an honest to goodness friend too, that's another dimension of empathy and of a listening ear, someone who can certainly, empathize. Like, I've been there, man.
And I would also add to that, just not only having somebody you can trust, maybe a mentor or somebody, but somebody you can also, like, when things start going well, you can brag to, like, you know what? You really helped me out with that issue I had a little while ago when she left. But now I found out a why. I'm working on this project or that podcast, or I'm doing something for somebody else, and they should be, the person that you trust should be like, that is absolutely awesome. They should be, what's the word? Like rewarding you or praising you and your accomplishments, and saying, look at how far you've gone already.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's a friend right there.
That is an invaluable friend. It's going to be just, enjoying your success rather than being envious of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I was just going to say there's, a lot of, it's surprising how often sometimes people can be more envious than happy for other people's success.
It kind of, their character comes out when, if you start doing well, who's going to respond to that, and how do they respond to that? Yeah. If you're doing stuff to where you're like, I'm really taking a chance. Like I have a few people that have really supported me trying to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And they're like, absolutely, this is great. What do you got done? What's going on? Is Jordan on your show again? This is great. Yeah.
Don't bring that guy back.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you know that Teddy Roosevelt speech, The Man in the Arena?
I think so.
You're joking me. Glen Gilbert. You don't know the Man in the Arena speech? Oh my God.
Go ahead and remind me.
Well, it's one of his more famous
I've just
speeches.
Lost all the viewers. Sorry. Everybody.
This is there. I can hear the collective cry out there.
It's more click. Everyone just clicked off.
There's so many links to that speech that are now being left on this YouTube page. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier, but I thought it holds.
You just wanted me to read it out loud. That's
fabulous.
It's one of my absolute favorites because it is so easy in this voyeuristic, day and age where, that video sucks, or that football player, messed this up, or that baseball player. What are you doing, man? Right. Sitting at home on the couch with a beer. Like, how about you just shut it down?
Right.
Yeah.
Michael Sartain has said this before. It's like successful people don't have time to write that kind of stuff on YouTube and stuff. They don't bother themselves with writing thumbs down stuff to people. It's like it's a waste. Right. It's a waste of time. Their time is much more valuable than that. Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
I feel like I've enriched your life by one tiny modicum.
I'm going to put a link in the description below to that speech.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
One of my top 3 favorite presidents, Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, no, that was really good. There's a few of those that are out there that I really like. I think Eisenhower has one where he's addressing I think it was an academy before they went into Europe during World War II. Ooh. And it's just, it's like
pretty moving.
Yeah.
Speaking of raw, unbridled masculinity, I watched the movie Tombstone last weekend in honor of the late, great Val Kilmer.
Yeah, yep.
It's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
what did he say? I'll be your huckleberry.
That's right.
That's right.
I'll be your huckleberry.
Nice. Well, thank you, Jordan. This has been a great discussion.
It's always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. If you've liked this video, give a like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can write to me at the Glen Gilbert Connection at gmail.com. And until next time, thank you so much for joining us.